What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and today we're going to talk about buffed Saiki and buffed Ash. Two characters that a lot of people were anticipating getting some buffs, and finally they did. But are the buffs going to be good enough for these two characters? Because Mukai is abysmal. He is absolutely terrible in this game. He pretty much needs an entire overhaul. And then Saiki is actually pretty decent, but he does lack a lot of survivability. Couldn't hurt to have a little extra damage. So let's see what they have done for both of these characters. All right, so let's scroll down here and we can take a look at the differences that they've done for him. So Mukai here, they have changed his first skill. They changed it from 20% attack to 30% attack. It's good. They gave him an extra 10% attack. It really doesn't address the core issues. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but okay. And he also applies darkness for 8 seconds when landing the skill. Now, here's the thing about the first skill. The first skill is where he throws out that little cannonball or a little meter or whatever and a rock, and you can easily dodge that damn thing. It's pretty much a telegraphed move. You can easily get out of the way of it. So what that means is that you're not going to apply darkness, okay? They can actually even guard against that skill, and they're still not going to get darkness applied. So it's, you know, it's kind of one of those things. Plus, darkness is really only valuable, like, I mean, it's valuable throughout the game. Any kind of dodge is always valuable because it adds extra damage to your character. But when we see characters with darkness, we tend to think, okay, Guild Raid. We tend to think maybe Immortal Nyx. You know, how good are these characters going to be against that? And the problem right now, guys, is that we already have a lot of characters that are good in those game modes, and there's no way in hell that Mukai is going to outshine them. But we'll move on. Then we also have skill 2, right? Now he's got an interrupt skill while standing. It's going to make him better, right? It's going to make him better in PvP, especially PvP. Okay, that's good. And then he has active skill 3. He can now petrify the target for 2 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds. Okay, he's got an extra half a second to petrify, and he has a 70% chance to reset the cooldown upon landing the skill for 15 seconds. So he can reset the third skill, but again, it's not really addressing the core issues of Mukai. I'm telling you, these things are good, but they're not really addressing the core issues of the character. Then his core, you know, his active skill damage increased by 17% of health is 50% or above, right? And damage received decreased by 10%. Well, now his active skill damage increased by 30%. Nice little substantial buff, you know, a 13% increase to active skill damage, which is nice, along with the 10% extra attack from his first skill, right? When his health is 50% or above. And then the damage received is decreased by 50% if health is 49% or below. So they gave him a nice extra decreased damage received, or more of a decreased damage received, increasing his survivability. And again, this is going to be good. It's going to help him, you know, in PvP a lot, and it will make him a little bit better in PvE. But again, we got a lot of characters that are already just godly, right? Especially after the video that I just recently made. And then we have the 50% chance to petrify enemy for 2.0 seconds. It was 1.4 seconds, but a little extended petrify time upon receiving damage, right? And then additional 50% of attack damage applied to the targets that are petrified. Now, this is really good. The problem is, how many opponents do you actually petrify? You petrify opponents in PvP unless they're immune to petrify, which was a big hinder to a character like Mukai in PvP. And you can't petrify Guild Rage. You can't petrify Mortal Dungeons. You can petrify certain opponents in story mode, epic quests, and things like that. So this extra attack would have been really, really awesome if it would have just been like an increased active skill damage or an increased attack, maybe with darkness. But because it says petrified, it makes it, well, it makes it kind of niche. And honestly, it's really mainly going to be good for PvP. It will be more helpful in League Match, Absolute War, those kinds of game modes. But again, we use a lot of other characters already. I mean, these kinds of things are going to help like a newer player, but a veteran, we're not going to care. And then we scroll down here and we get to Saiki. And Saiki, they actually, he applied darkness for 6 seconds. Now he applies it for 8 seconds. So a little extra lasting dot effect, which is good, but they didn't increase the damage of it. And then his active skill 2 is an interrupt skill that's limited to when airborne. So this is actually really good, especially for PvP, because when he gets knocked up in the air, he'll actually be able to come out of his skill and go into his skills. It's actually really nice. And then the third skill, they give him a decrease the target's power gauge by 1.8%, whereas before it was 0.6%. So that's going to make him a little bit better for decreasing their power gain, so they don't use their supers as often, and increases Saiki's power gauge by 1.8%. So he's got a higher power gain also, right? He'll gain power faster, and he'll actually decrease the power of the opponents even more so. And then they also gave him an increased attack damage by 28% for 7 seconds upon usage. Just using the skill gives him an increased attack by 28%, which is actually really good. So on his third skill, before it was upon landing an active skill critical hit, you had a 100% chance to decrease the target's attack speed and movement speed for 3 seconds. Now, upon landing an active skill, so you don't have to do a crit, but you got to land the skill. And here's the thing that sucks about this. Even when opponents are guarding against you, you can still do critical hits. So you still could have got that. Whereas with something like this, now you actually have to land the skill. So if they guard against this thing, then yeah, this isn't going to be really popping up. And then it has a 100% chance to decrease the target's attack speed, move speed, blah, blah, blah. We already know. Cooldown time of 15 seconds. Then upon landing the first skill, target receives additional 25% damage for 7 seconds and fear for 2 seconds. So now Saiki has a fear. I mean, this is going to make him a lot better in PvP. I'm seeing a lot of PvP things. It is nice that he's going to have extra damage, but that fear, again, doesn't apply to Guild Raid, doesn't apply to Mortal Dungeons. It's kind of the same problem that Mukai has, but it will be better for PvP. And then his next core, before, he has super armor, right? Receiving damage decreased by 35%. Now it's 50%. So they gave him a higher decreased damage received. And now he gets hyper armor instead of super armor whenever these dots are applied to him. And this is actually better than what it was before, because before it was just bleed and burn. Now it's actually even darkness and starlight will actually give him that hyper armor. And this is only on an 8-second cooldown. So for PvP, that's going to make him a whole lot better. It's going to make him a whole lot better. And then they got these little packages. I'm not going to get into all these today. So, I mean, the thing is, guys, like, we're at a point in this game where we have such strong characters that really characters like Saiki and Ash, these old Fest versions, like, they would have to give them the rework of God in order for them to really stand out. They're just not going to stand out against all these other characters that we cover, all these BS, all these SS, the collaboration characters. They're just not, right? They're going to be better than what they were before, especially for PvP. But let me show you something with Mukai, okay? Let's click on the wrong one here. Let me show you something with this guy and the issues that really needs to be addressed with Mukai, okay? We'll go to episode 2. We'll go against Ignis here, right? We'll jump in here. The problem with Mukai is his animations are super slow. He also has long cooldowns on his skills. Now, Saiki doesn't have that problem, and Saiki can cancel skills very fast, but Mukai can't. Whenever you're playing with Mukai, like, watch, we'll hit my second skill here, right? And I tried to go into my first skill, but I couldn't, right? I couldn't go into it. Like here, you know, it's nice to have that petrify there, right? But let me show you here, right? We'll use the second skill. I'm trying to go into my third skill. I can't. It takes a little while. Let's go into the second skill, go into my first skill. Oh, I can't. And what that means is if you can't cancel into your skills, your other skills very fast, whenever you're playing in PvP, your opponents can easily just dodge out of the way. Plus, Mukai's skills are telegraphed. Look at this. Look at how long this takes. Come on now. Look at that. You can easily see that damn thing coming, right? And then this skill here, right? That is a telegraph skill. You can see those things coming. So, like, what they did for him will make him better. Giving him a dot, the increased damage is nice, but it's not really going to, I mean, he's not going to be some OP character, and neither is Saiki, right? And we really can't expect him to be, right? Because they want to keep the BS and SS and collaboration characters the strongest of them all. I mean, we saw this happen with, you know, recently with Nameless and Ash, right? They buffed up both those characters, and then they were almost immediately forgotten about. Yeah, they were better, but they were pretty much forgotten about because all these BS and SS characters are just overriding everybody. They're destroying everything. I mean, BS Ash and BS Nameless can pretty much solo just about everything in this game on their own. Right? When you got that kind of power creep, seeing these buffs for these characters don't really mean a whole lot. The only time it's going to mean anything for anybody, really, is in Championship whenever you have KOF Original Week. This is the only time that you're really going to maybe appreciate those buffs that have been given to those characters. But I mean, as far as all the PvE game modes in the game, I mean, we're all still going to be using all of our BS and SS characters and collaboration characters. And unless they change the animations on Mukai, unless they speed them damn things up, make them cancelable, he's still going to be pretty much a trash character for the most part. And the other thing that I want to note is the last time that we got buffed characters, Nameless and Ash, look what happened. Not long after, we ended up getting BS versions of those characters. So there's a good possibility, you know, I'm just speculating, that we're going to get a BS version of Saiki and we're going to get a BS version of Mukai, which would be extremely exciting because we know those would be absolutely OP. But let me know in the comments what you all think about the buffs for Mukai and Saiki, and I will be doing some damage comparisons, and I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT+7 time. The link is in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.